You're listening to the 195th edition of the Bitachon podcast, and we're going to continue with the last passuk of chapter 86, perek Dalet in Tehillim, which is a famous passuk. Hashem tzivakos ashrei adam b'teach boch. God, Lord of hosts, praiseworthy is the man who trusts in you. But before we get into the Mefarshim, I'd like to read to you the whole chapter. It's a relatively short chapter, 13 psukim. La'onatzech ala gitis livnei korach mizmor. For the conductor on the gitis, which I believe is a type of instrument, to the sons of Korach, the following song was composed by them. Ma yedidos mishkanosech Hashem tzivakos. Now listen to this carefully, because we're going to lead up to the fact that we trust in Hashem. Praiseworthy is the one who trusts in Hashem. But notice, the entire chapter is talking about the fact that how beloved, as this passuk says, how beloved are your mishkanos. A mishkan is a sanctuary. The sanctuaries of Hashem, the Lord of hosts. And what we need to understand here is that we're talking about the Batei Medrash, the Batei Knesses. We're speaking here in the psukim about the places of worship, the places where we gather to study the Torah of Hashem, and the places where we gather to pray, to daven to Hashem. My soul desires to come into the courtyards of Hashem. Libi b'sari yaranu kelchai. The way that we praise Hashem, it says the Baal Tehillim, the Bnei Kairach here, the way that we praise Hashem is by coming and learning His Torah, by coming into the Chatzos Hashem, the courtyards of Hashem. Gam tzipor matzah bayis. A bird whose way is to fly and to be free. Duror kainla. A duror is a kind of bird. That's also, the word duror means free. A bird is free to fly wherever it wishes, but it wishes still, although it can fly free, it wishes to have a place that it can settle. It wants to have a ken, it wants to have a nest. It's the place where it raises its baby chicks, its baby birds. That is the place of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Mizbeach, the altar, where we bring the karbanos, the sacrifices. Malki v'lakoi, He is our King and our God. And here's a famous passuk that we say every day. Ashrei yoshvei veisecha. Praiseworthy is the one who sits in your house. Od yahalalu chasela. They will continue to praise you. Ashrei adam oizlei bach. Praiseworthy is the one whose strength is in you, Hashem. This is the idea of Bitachon. This is the idea of the Torah. We're studying the Torah. It reminds us every day, every moment, what is the will of God? How do we depend on Hashem? Who is our power? Mesilais b'levavam. It makes pathways in their hearts. Right? The Torah is supposed to, when we go over the Torah, when we review, we study, it gives us the right paths, the right thinking, the straight thinking. Even when a person is passing through the valley of tears, still, this is apropos, I'm in a place where there's a valley right behind the camera, and in that valley there's a mayan, there's a water source. But they'll have a place to drink, even when they're going through a place which is challenging in their life. Their teacher, Hashem is our teacher. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will adorn us with His blessings. They will go from one powerful success to another. They will be seen by Hashem in Zion, means in Yerushalayim. We come to the Chatzos Hashem, we come to the Beis HaMikdash, we come today to the Kaisel, to the Har HaBayis, to the place of God's revelation. Hashem Elokim Tzivaka Shema Tfilasi. Hashem, our God, The Lord of hosts, hear my prayers. Hazina lekei Yaakov Selah. Listen, O God of Jacob. And as I think we're going to see together, the God of hosts, we keep talking about the God of hosts, because Hashem manifests through all of us. We are the Tzivos Hashem. We are the hosts, the army of God, as it were. When we are performing the mitzvahs, when we are doing our best to study His Torah, we are the place where God manifests. Maginenu re'ei elikim. God is our protector. He's our shield. See Hashem. V'habeit pnei meshichecha. And look into the face of your Mashiach, of your anointed one, which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we're going to see, He anoints. What does it mean to anoint? It means He appoints somebody to be the one who reflects His light in the world. That's Am Yisrael. That's the Jewish people. That's Mashiach. Mashiach is the greatest leader. He's the greatest Navi. He's the greatest prophet. It's better to be one day in your courtyard, in the place of Torah learning, in the place of service of Hashem, than 1,000 days elsewhere. That's the Pashup shot. B'charti steifef b'beis Elokai, says the author of this kapitel, I chose to place myself, to spend my time in the house of my God, midur ba'alei resha, rather than being in the tents of those who are wicked. And understand what he means to say is that there are many people, as we'll see them before Shem, maybe not this week, maybe next week, there are many people who their focus is this world. We're going to point out the word Rasha, which means wicked. The same letters, if you reverse it, is Osher. It means people who are completely involved in seeking wealth. That's all they care about, is guaranteeing their ability to succeed in this world. The physical world is all they care about. David HaMelech says, or the Bnei Korach say, that's not where I place myself. I place myself, God, into your place of study, into your base medicine, into your place of service. Kishemesh umagin, Hashem Elokim. God is the sun for us. We'll see there's more than one explanation of this, but God is the sun. He is our protector. He provides us with light, sustenance, protection from the elements, protection from our enemies. Chen v'chavod yitin Hashem. God gives grace, which means chen is a lashon of chinam. It's free. Sometimes a person has a certain chen. You like them, you can't even explain why. Hashem gives that chen. Hashem gives honor. Those who go with Hashem simply, in a whole way, holistically, in a way that shows that they are completely dependent on Hashem. Hashem will not prevent good from being given to them. Hashem tzivakos ashrei adam b'teich. And now we have our passuk, which we're going to discuss. Hashem, Lord of hosts, praiseworthy is the one who trusts in you. So after all of the discussion, after all of the talk of being in the Chasis Hashem, being in the place of God's courtyards, the place of Hashem's service, in Jerusalem, in Beis HaMikdash. And the Beis HaMikdash, of course, was not just the place of korbanos, of sacrifices, it was also the place of the Sanhedrin, it was the place of the highest level of study of Torah, and the highest level of application of Torah. Once I have all of these things, once I'm dedicated to my relationship with Hashem, once I find myself constantly only wishing to be in the courtyard of Hashem, then we can talk about Bitachon. Then we can talk about trusting in Hashem. Hashem tzivakos, God, you manifest through all of your hosts, all of the Jewish people who seek your will. Ashrei Adam, praiseworthy is the individual, B'teach bach, who trusts in you. He brings here Yerushalmi and Brachos. Rabbi Chizkiah, Rabbi Yaakov Aracha, Rabbi Yosa, B'Shem Rabbi Yechana. La'olam al yehei passuk zeh zaz mitoich picha. So the first understanding, which passuk should a person always have? And by the way, you're going to notice that the pasukim that we're talking about, we say every single day in Uvalut Tzion. This passuk, he says, should never leave your lips. You should constantly be repeating, Hashem tzivakos imanu. God, Lord of hosts, is with us. Misgav lanu. He is our protector. Elokei Yaakov Sela. The God of Jacob, Sela. Rabbi Yossi Bey Rabbi Avon, Rabbi Avo, B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan v'Chevraya. The second opinion is that you should have the pasuk, Hashem tzivakos ashrei adam v'teach bach. Our pasuk that we're quoting here. Hashem, Lord of hosts, praiseworthy is the person who trusts in you. So both of these psukim indicate that we should have bitachon, that we should trust in God and know that we are praiseworthy. Praiseworthy is the one. Interesting. We have to understand what is the idea of being praiseworthy because we trust in Hashem. You're lucky. If you have bitachon, you're so lucky. We're so lucky that we can talk about this. We can talk about trusting in Hashem. So many people go through life without any connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, heaven forbid, or with a minimal connection. A person can be very frum, do all of the mitzvahs, but kind of miss the point. We're so lucky that we stopped for a moment and realized this is what it's all about. It's all about having trust in Hashem, having a relationship with Hashem. He brings here on the bottom, in the notes, Uvagodais Eliyahu, Lebal Hashevet Musar, maybe Meharamak Zatzal. He brings from the Ramak. Rav Moshe Cordovero. The pasuk Hashem Tzivakos Imanu Amroi Avram Avinu Alav Shalom. That the pasuk Hashem Tzivakos Imanu, the first pasuk which we're quoting, which we say every day in Uvalut Tzion, God, the Lord of hosts, is with us. He's our protector. This was stated by Avram Avinu. Pasuk Hashem Tzivakos Ashrei Adam B'Derech Bach. The second pasuk which we say, which is the pasuk that we're studying together right now, Amar Yitzchak, it was stated by Yitzchak, corresponds to his midah. Upasik Hashem Hashia HaMelech, the third pasuk that we say, Hashem Hashia HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu. Hashem will save us, the King will answer us the day that we call. Amar Yaakov. That pasuk was said by Yaakov. And he says, look in the next piece we're gonna see together, the perek of the Rebbe Lazar. And this is what he says. Basar Nisyonis Nisnasa Avram Avinu v'Ama B'Kulam. Avram Avinu was tested. He had 10 tests, and he withstood them all. God knew that Avram Avinu's great-great-grandchildren were going to test God 10 times in the Midbar, in the wilderness. So he says that the first test that Avram experienced, that he had to go through, that he had to face off with, was that when he was born, so all of it sounds very similar to what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu when he was born, but the kings, specifically Nimrod, they had a tradition, or perhaps their stargazers saw that there was a child that's going to be born that's going to turn around the whole world against them. And because of that, everyone knew it was Avraham, and they were all trying to kill him. And he had to hide under the earth for 13 years. Those 13 years, he didn't see the sun, he didn't see the moon, which, by the way, is interesting because when Avram Avinu he comes to the realization that there's a God, so the Medrash says that he looked at the sun, he thought maybe that's the power. He looked at the moon, he thought maybe that's the power. But he didn't see the sun, he didn't see the moon. He didn't see any powers. After 13 years, he was alone there, it sounds like. Nobody spoke to him. Medaber Lashon HaKodesh. He naturally started speaking in Hebrew. Moas Asherim. He found disgusting the idolatrous worship of trees. V'shakasas apsilim. He found it disgusting to bow down to idols. V'botach b'tzel yitzrei. He naturally came to the realization in those 13 years that he was alone in a cave under the earth, that there's only Hashem. I need to trust in God's cell, I need to nestle under his shade. And he said this passuk, praiseworthy is the man. I'm sorry, Hashem tzivakos, God, Lord of hosts, praiseworthy is the one who trusts in you. So he said our passuk. Okay, now he brings from the Bir Haradal, which is an explanation of Perek Rebbe Eliezer. What does it mean that Avram said this passuk? Praiseworthy is the one who trusts in you, God. The people of his generation would serve the sun and the moon. And they served the hosts of the heavens. And their intense power. Right? We think of it, we understand the sun is powerful. It brings light, it brings life to the world. We understand the moon causes the waves. But they had a different experience of the sun and the moon and the stars. They experienced them as bringing the power into the world. Spiritual power, physical power. And so they served those celestial beings. Avram Avinu was ahead of his time. He understood that they didn't have any power. That's why he said, praiseworthy is the one who trusts in you, Hashem. You're the one who brings all of these powers, the heavenly hosts, Hashem Tzivakos, he uses that name, God, Lord of hosts, indicating the fact that God created and brought into reality and gave power to all of the hosts of the heavens, all of the people who serve their idolatry, and it doesn't have to be an idol as we think of something that you bow down to, something that you go to India and you see they still have them there. But we also have the idols. We believe that money is power. We believe that fame is power, maybe. There's lots of powers. But who's behind all the powers? That's the concept of Hashem Tzivakos. God is the Lord of hosts. He's behind all the powers. God can change anything in a moment. And guess what, folks? We have the ability through our prayer, through our Bitachon, to ask Hashem for what we need, to ask Hashem to change reality, to ask Hashem to send down his divine influx in a way that's beneficial to us. This is what the passuk says right before. Right? God is the sun. God is the shield. God is the one who gives the sun to be the light of the day. He's the true shield. The only one you could really trust. He protects us in the times of difficulty. No physical reality, nothing within the physical reality that we experience has the true power. It could be an iron dome. It could be an army, a powerful army. It could be many, many different ways of protecting ourselves, but really, truly, the one who protects us, the only one, the one who gives them power. He gives our troops their power. He gives the Iron Dome its power. It's only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We need to trust in him. Brings here from the Medrash Sheicher Tov. Ki shemesh u'magin Hashem Elokim. Lo yimna tov l'holchem etamim. Passuk says, as we quoted, the previous passuk, right before our passuk, God is like a sun. He's a protector. He doesn't hold back good from those who go with him in perfection, meaning in a simple way, in a whole way. Besides for the fact that, of course, we understand that it's speaking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu being the sun, being the shield. But we can also see that Avram Avinu himself had an aspect of being a sun and being a shield. And I want to preface it by just saying that whenever a person develops in his ruchnius, in his spirituality, in his relationship with Hashem. In spiritual terms, the closer one is to God, as it were, means the more similar a person is. That's why Chazal say, person is supposed to, Mahu rachum afatar rachum. We're supposed to try, just like God is compassionate, we are to be compassionate. Just like God is Gamel Chasadim, God does kindnesses, we're supposed to do kindnesses. God is the sun, as it were. God, like the sun, provides heat and sustenance. So we are supposed to be like that as well. And the Medrash now says that Avram Avinu, indeed, we see that he had a reflection of all of these aspects. Ki shemesh ze Avram, we find that Avram Avinu is referred to as a sun. Mi heyer mi mizrach, who's the one that shone from the east. Avram brought the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the world. U'magen ze Avram, shenemar nachi magen lach. We find that Avram is referred to as a shield. He's a protector. He's protected. Elikim, passuk says, which can also mean a powerful person. Maybe we find that Elikim Yitzav Badas Kel, that God is there when there are judges. Judges are powerful people. Avram is also referred to that. Ze Avram, shenemar nesi Elikim ato bitachenu. You are the Prince of God. Hashem, God gives grace and honor. Avram had a lot of grace and honor. He was a very wealthy person. Someone who was very mechubad. People respected him. People gave him honor. The pasuk says, God will not hold back those who go with Hashem. He won't hold back good from those who go with Hashem perfectly. Ze Avraham shenemar. This is a reference to Avram. Hisalech lefonei ve'yetamim, pasuk says, go before me and be perfect. Avram has spent his life perfecting himself, working on his relationship with God, working on being more and more subservient to Hashem. That's right before he gets the mitzvah of Milah, which meant to perfect himself physically. Ve'im be'Avram akas medaber, hayel sheyemer lo yimna tov lahoylech b'tamim. So, the Medrash Shecher Tov points out, if it's talking about Abraham, singular, so it should have said, Hashem doesn't hold back to any good from the one who goes with God perfectly. But it doesn't say that. It says, why does it say, in plural, those who go with him perfectly? It can't just be, the passuk can't just be speaking about Abraham, Elama Abraham shalach lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tmimus nasa le'mogen. So it's saying that this applies to us. This passuk is not just a one-time event in the times of Avraham and Hashem. I'm realizing now I kind of misunderstood it. It's not saying that Avraham was the son, although it's true in a certain way. He's shown the light of Hashem. It's saying that Hashem has shown his light for him. And it's saying that Hashem was the Magin, he was the protector of Avraham. The whole passuk applies to Avraham and his relationship with God. But it's not just Avraham, it's also us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying that not only is this true of Avraham, who went perfectly with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but anybody who goes perfectly with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who tries to serve Hashem, to be of those who sit in the Chatzos Hashem, in the courtyards of God. So then Hashem he will shine his light and be a protector for that person. Praiseworthy is the human being who trusts in Hashem. It doesn't say, praiseworthy is Avraham who trusted in you. It says Adam, which means a man, and it means, says the Medrash, any man. So any one of us has a chance, has the ability, has the opportunity to hold on to and become a person of Bitachon, of courage and faith. Thank you so much for listening. See you again next time.